Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. This is going to be my spoilers breakdown or just spoiler talk for Aquaman as it's about to be released tomorrow night. Yes, Thursday, and then of course the whole weekend. Hopefully, will be a big box office in the domestic box office. They're already gauging that's going to be 120 million. That's crazy. It went from 65 to 85 to 100. Now it's 120 million. Who knows? Sky's the limit. What do people watch on Christmas weekend? There's a lot to choose from. Bumblebee and what was the other one? Oh my God, I can't remember. Oh, Mary Poppins Returns, and of course Aquaman. But we're going to talk about Aquaman. So this is about the spoilers for Aquaman. So if you haven't watched Aquaman, especially my U.S. brothers and sisters, please do not watch this. Please go and watch that first. This is for you international people and lucky Amazon Prime members who are able to watch Aquaman. Okay, so let's start off with what people were asking about, right? Let's start off with release the Snyder Cut stuff. Okay, so does this connect to Snyder Cut? Very vaguely. Less than we hope for, I guess you would say. There is one scene where Aquaman Mera comes out of the water, and you see a little bit in the trailer and some screenshots, and you see her talking to Aquaman or Arthur Curry rather, and Mera just says she talks about how he had saved the world against Steppenwolf and stuff like that, and but he replies back that yeah, but that was for the Earth, not Atlantis. It wasn't for Atlantis, and so that kind of, and he mentions that like I told Vocal before. So there is just a little bit that it could connect to that meeting in the Snyder Cut where Arthur Curry meets with Mera and Vocal about that. So there is that. It's very small, very little bit, but it could work. But then later on, after Mera helps save Aquaman's father from that big tsunami and things like that. He says he asks her what's her name, and she says Mera, and it's a long name, and then she says Mera. So that I thought was kind of interesting because I thought maybe he had known her before, especially in the regular Justice League you see in theatrical. And he I guess he doesn't mention her name. He just says, "Are you all right?" Like as if she's some unknown Atlantean, and she says, "Oh, look, the prodigal son returns." So I guess she didn't. He didn't know who she was until at this point, so that could still work, right? And the whole bubble talk thing, it seems it could work because it shows that he's royalty because he can speak, he can be without in the water and talk within the water. And Vocal did explain in the Aquaman movie that they do that bubble thing because others can't hear what they're saying. It's a private conversation, plus fish can't come in. So there is a reason why they did that air bubble, or it gives it a reason why they did the air bubble in Justice League. So I thought that fits nicely. It explains Justice League in the same breath that it explains why Vocal does that on that ship. And so I like that they do that as well. But other than that, there's really no connection to the Snyder Cut in that. There's one thing that may not work out for if what we think the Snyder Cut is. Now, in the Snyder Cut, what we believe when Zack Snyder had shot that scene where James Wan, that part where he says CO3, or was that part where the one he was working on his birthday, where you see Aquaman swim down and he sees the king and with the Quindent, right? In Aquaman, the Quindent, I think, is in the possession of his father. and he uses it to train with Volko, and because that Quindent was originally Queen Atlantis, and it's his mom, so she had left it there. So in Aquaman, it's already there, but in what we believe is the Snyder cut, is that he finds that with the suit of armor with some dead king. So that is different. That wouldn't work in connecting that to what we think is the Snyder cut. Simplest fix is to take that out completely in the Snyder cut, and have it connect that he got the Quintet. He always had the Quintet. He just needed to borrow the armor. And so that would work, but I just wanted to give you heads up about that if you were confused about the Quindent. And I think they call it the Quindent, although Vocal calls it the Trident in the movie of Aquaman, but it doesn't have three forks. You know, the Trident we really want, they all want to get, is exactly that three-prong thing. So, and that you'll see later on. But that I want to connect. Now, Man of Steel homages. We've seen it in the trailers. We see, Orm charging against Arthur Curry as they, like Zod and Man of Steel doing that thing. The slow mo, the fast paced, the slow mo action, and it gets fast. Like that type of Zack Snyder time action. That has happened. Of course, Aquaman shooting up into the sky, just like how Man of Steel shoots up. There's all that. The best, probably one of the best homages is one, he's pushing the submarine. That's one, and the other is really, it's right in your face. Is when he in the submarine, he opens the door, right? He opens the door. It's the same shot, and he looks at all the sailors that are in there captive, and he saves them, right? So it's very much the same as when Superman opens up on the oil rig. He's on in flames, and he sees the oil rig workers, and he lets them out, right? Except in this one, they put a little funny spin on it, where Aquaman really doesn't really. He cares, but he plays it off like, come on, I'm what. Come on, let's get out of here. I gotta make it to happy hour or something. And the sailor's like, oh, it's kind of plays on that. And it's funny how he's Aquaman, so he's wet, and Superman, he's on fire. It has that play, and I think that's kind of cool that it works. And the movie does start off with him. I mean, it starts off with Queen Atlanta and the history of all that. Nice origin story. It sets up real nicely about his mother, his father, and the two worlds and stuff like that. Him as a kid, and doing that, able to talk to the animals, kind of stuff. And the music is awesome. It's epic. It's got that synthic, it's like that 80s, like. What, I don't know how you explain it. That electronic thing, noise going on, electronic music going on, techno a little bit, and I like that about this movie. Those little subtle 80s type of retro music that kicks in, sci-fi-ish, and that makes it really work. But it does, when you finally see adult Aquaman, he does start off in the water, so that still could be connected to when he is jumping in the water and jumping past the whales in the what we know now as Justice League, ending of Justice League. So I just wanted to let you be aware that it connects like that. It doesn't connect him right in the truck, like we hoped it would. It doesn't do that, but in any case, it's still, both could still work if they fiddle things around. But Man of Steel homages was like that. Was the one where he saves the sailors. The charging, the shooting up in the sky, and the biggest one of all is at the end. In a way, for me, at the end, more Batman v Superman than Man of Steel. Big spoiler is that after Aquaman defeats Orm, he actually Ocean Master, his mother shows up, right? and right now we know his mother was alive. So his mother shows up at the end, and in a way, I mean, Aquaman stops the fight himself. So he doesn't. He gives him mercy. He doesn't kill him, Ocean Master, which I thought was nice because that's his brother, half brother. And then the mom comes and really just stops it, And so I like that because it's like that Martha. It's the Martha moment, but physically the mom shows up. And it's like having how important your mother is to you, to these two people, to Batman and Superman, and to Aquaman and Ocean Master rather. And so it really connects with you, and I like that. I like that your mom can stop sibling rivalry, and I think there's some poetic power to that. It works for my home where my wife can stop my sons from fighting. Say, cut it out, stop it. And I think if you had brothers out there, your mom comes and you stop fighting. But I mean, she didn't do it in a harsh way, but she did it in a more motherly way, and we find out that a lot of that corruption and stuff came from the king. Ocean Master's father, that corrupted him to feel that way, think that way. Although Ocean Master, I also believe he's not really a villain. I mean, does some villainous things like kill off kings and try to destroy other kingdoms of the seven seas, but he did it because I mean, there is this one scene where he talks about humanity dumping all this stuff, killing the whales, and it's very reminiscent of Man of Steel, where he talks about the history and stuff like that history lesson in a way, and I like that. That's a little bit of like that, and it's cool. It's really makes you wonder, makes you what do you call that? Connect with him. You're like, Ocean Master is right. We're kind of making this mess. We kind of deserve it. Us people on land, for dumping all that stuff in the water and killing the fish and killing the whales and stuff like that. We kind of deserve it, quite honest. But that's what Aquaman is trying to make peace with both worlds and things like that. Even though, I mean, Ocean Master is really right. Got to be quite honest about that. But this is about Aquaman, and he's a superhero, which is interesting about this movie because it's less of a superhero movie and more of a adventure movie, more of a royal family type of movie, Lion King, if you will, and I think it works for this. And James Wan has said he's not here to connect universes. He's here to build the world of Aquaman, and that's what he successfully does with this. There are points where there are gripes that I have with this, and some of them are like really little jokes that doesn't kill the overall feeling, but the pee joke, yeah, the octopus drumming, I figured that is almost a almost like a an homage or something to like the Little Mermaid in a way. Underwater they could tell the animals to do weird things, they ride them. Might as well make the octopus play some drums, right? And they play it off so like quickly and fast that they don't dwell on it, and I think I like that. Oh, sorry, I'm still sick. Ooh. But they don't dwell on that. And there's one thing that kind of takes you out of it a little bit, and then that's when Aquaman and Mera comes onto the beach and he plays that Pitbull song, a new version of Tote's Africa, and it kind of takes you like, what? It's kind of okay. Well, it kind of spells like this is another act. This is the adventure part. Now we're gonna go find the trident and things like that. But it takes you out of it because it's like, all of a sudden it's music. But when I watched it, I'm like, oh, that's so Fast and Furious. That's so Furious 7. They've done that. James Wan has done that before. So I think that's just his thing. I don't quite care for it, but that's his thing. So That was interesting, and it takes you a little bit out of it, but it doesn't dwell on it, and it takes you back right to the adventure, right there quickly. Pinocchio, kind of, it's weird. It's like there's a lot of movie references in here where he talks about Fight Club, like I said, the Little Mermaid with the octopus drums, and Pinocchio about him being eaten a whale. But I think it could have stopped there. It was weird. Then she brought it up. Some random girl gave her a book with about Pinocchio, and I was like, really? That's kind of really. I mean, it didn't have to. It didn't bother me that much, but I thought it was kind of like unnecessary if you think about it. Why she would have brought that up, but it just there are little things like that where it's like, well, it's unnecessary, but okay, whatever. I think that was Ludi Lin who he needed. So the Atlantean soldiers need water. They're not like royalty; they can breathe on land. So the first thing he got shot in the face, and the helmets of the water's coming out. He's in the bathroom, and I automatically knew he's like, oh, watch, he's gonna put his head in the toilet. Sure enough, he puts his head in the toilet. But that's a natural humor, and I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. They don't dwell on it. They just do it really quickly, and there's like things. But there are some areas where, like the P joke, where the music just stops and like joke time. That kind of like, well, unnecessary. So those are minor gripes. The other one is the sudden explosions. All right. This happens at the beginning of the film where Queen Atlanta's talking, and all of a sudden, there's this explosion by the wall, and it interrupts whatever they're doing. Okay, one time, not bad, fine. Then it happens again, where they're in the ship, and I think it happens before that too. I forgot when, but it happens again. And then it happens again in the ship with Volko. Then it happens again after when the bottle. He looks through the bottle to see where the trident or where the trench is or something, and it happens. That interruption, that explosion interruption, and when they're doing something. It happened so often that even my 8-year-old son Grayson was like, "Explosion again!" Like it was kind of like, why did they have to do that again? That was kind of like unnecessary, and so it happened like 4 times in the film, and it kind of bothered me. It's now none of all these gripes are very minor and petty, but I thought I'd let you know ahead of time what my thoughts on those little things. But it felt unnecessary, and I don't think they had to do it over and over and over. But to each his own. Afterwards, what else was I was thinking? Lost World, the center of the earth. That was quite surprised. After the whole trench scene, which was fantastic. It was scary. It was awesome. I remember when all the trench monsters came down, and you see it pulls back, and you see all the monsters coming down. The theater like let out a gasp. They're like, and my son was like, how are they gonna fight them all? It was very. I was awestruck. It was incredible. Love it. That was incredible shot, incredible chase through the whole thing, as these trench monsters are coming after them. And in the center of the earth, you get to see dinosaurs and pterodactyls. That was really awesome. Of course, Queen Atlanta, we find out she's still alive. And then it gets to the monster, the Judy. I want to say it's not Judy Dench. Oh my God, I'm totally losing it. Mary Poppins, Julie Andrews. So she is plays that Kraken monster. It's not called a Kraken monster. I forget what they call it, but that giant monster, and straight out of like Cat 5 kaiju of Pacific Rim. It had that hammerhead look to it with the tentacles. I mean, it was straight out of Pacific Rim. There's one of these kaijus, very that whole sequence was really awesome. Aquaman finally donning the costume, finally donning the suit with his trident was really badass. And him and riding that big giant monsters, it was like a Superman moment where he comes and saves everybody. So I like that as well. And the whole third act was like action, action, action. And the whole war and him fighting against Ocean Master is incredible. And the last fight reminds me of, and this is for Metal Gear fans. It reminds me of, not only does it remind me of the Zod and Superman fight, but Solid Snake versus Liquid Snake. That whole one-on-one, mano a mano on a ship, and that reminded me of that, and so made it more epic for moi. And so I think that's about it. That's all the spoilers I want to really talk about. There's a lot of things that happen in this movie, and I want to watch it again to see the little effects in here and there. Visually, I've said before, is awesome. The music is awesome. Kingdom of Atlantis, that soundtrack score, accompanying with them going to Atlantis, it just, you have that feeling of visiting the ivory tower of Fantasia, never-ending story. That feeling that you're awestruck, and the music, that retro music, is just incredible. And I really wish to return back to Atlantis really soon. So that's about it for tonight. That's my spoilers review. I am sorry, John Aaron, I did not get to join you in DC Films Hub podcast. I'm so sorry. I'm getting my voice back here. My nose is still messed up. But I want to share my spoilers review in for the international people, for the Amazon Prime members who were able to go watch it, and for you if you live in domestic. Hopefully you didn't get this far, because I would spoil the movie for you. But hopefully that you after you've watched it, you've come here and listened to my spoilers review. Maybe you have the same gripes, maybe you have the same response, but hopefully you all love it, and I think most of you will. And hopefully this makes box office money, because DCEU really needs this win. All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.